welcome to a new edition of our show. My name is Business, and as we always say, business means money, stability and business, and a lot more, as we mention every time, like the COVID-19 situation that is affecting all economies in the world. Well, means a lot actually. That also affects business, affects money, affects economies, affects everything. Well, there is a lot happening week by week. Of course, you know, the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution, and a lot more that is happening in Egypt is going to be talking about what we reached that time in 2011, 2012, 2013, and where have we reached right now, and what's going on. Also, a new news happened that Egypt's Ministry of Foreign Affairs released a statement welcoming Russian President Vladimir Putin's decision on July 8th to overturn a 2015 decree banning charter flights to Egyptian resorts. And we have online Dr. Yahya Abdel Qadir, who's going to be shedding more light on that. But we're going for a short break, after which we'll be coming back and taking our call.
The Russian Airlines announced the resumption of its flights to the Egyptian resorts, and a spokesperson for the company said the company is ready to resume its flights to Egypt and will formulate the flight program and request the appropriate permits from the aviation authorities. For its part, the Russian travel and tourism agency Ator expected to resume charter flights to Egypt this July. Earlier, Russian President Vladimir Putin canceled the decree banning flights to Egyptian resorts. The Russian president's decision to lift the ban was published on the official portal of the Kremlin's legal information on the internet. Egypt welcomed the decision issued by the Russian Federation. Egypt expresses its aspiration for the speedy return of Russian tourism to Egyptian resorts, which would enhance bilateral cooperation in the tourism sector, particularly in light of the precautionary measures and measures taken by the Egyptian government to contain the COVID-19 issue. Egypt affirms that this decision reflects the strength of Egyptian-Russian relations at all levels, which are witnessing momentum in various fields. Dr. Saeed Al-Battouti, economic advisor to the World Tourism Organization and professor of tourism economics at Frankfurt University, said the return of Russian tourism to Egypt has a very great psychological meaning for Egyptians and tourist consumers in different markets, as it will remove the confusion that prevailed regarding the insurance of Egyptian airports and so on. Al-Battouti confirmed to Echo of the country that the Russian market can support companies and hotels during that period until European markets stabilize, as the Russian market is not affected much by the events, including the current pandemic. The Russian newspaper Izvestia praised the performance of Major General Amr Hanafi, the governor of the Red Sea, with the approach of a return of Russian tourism to Hurghada through the moves he made to combat the COVID-19 virus, particularly in the field of health, to expand testing centers, speed up the vaccination process, and extend working hours so that tourists can spend their hiking time and wander. The newspaper said that the pace of vaccination is very fast, as nearly 60,000 workers in the tourism sector have been vaccinated, which is a good thing for tourism coming from Russia. Earlier, Ambassador Nader Saad, a spokesperson for the Council of Ministers, announced that the government decided to increase the rate of tourist occupancy from 50% to 70% according to the data of the global tourism movement, which coincides with the return of Russian and European tourism in addition to the internal tourism movement. Adel Al-Masri, the head of the Chamber of Tourism Establishments and Restaurants, said that the government's decision to increase the occupancy rate of hotels, cinema, theaters, restaurants and cafes to 70% limits the bleeding of losses suffered by the sector as a result of the repercussions of COVID-19.
Welcome back again to Money Means Business. We have online Dr. Yahya Abdel Qadir, and he's going to be shedding light on the decision of the Russian President Vladimir Putin on overturning the decision that was the decree that was taken on the year 2015 concerning banning flights to Russian flights to Egyptian resorts, and now everything is back to normal. Hello, sir.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. How do you see the situation now?
Well, actually, it's delightful news, like to hear that on last Thursday, President Putin lifted the embargo on Russian flights to Red Sea resorts, namely Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada. Also, this comes after a long hold-up of nearly 6 years since 2015. There are going to be growing traffic, of course, of Russian flights and tours to the assigned destinations of Hurghada and Sharm el-Sheikh, which is like favorite and preferred destinations, like for Russian guests and visitors to Egypt after a long time. And this is called a pent-up demand after a long hold-up of no travel and no coming to Egypt during the past year.
Yes, sir. But like for Russian tourism was really rife actually in Sharm el-Sheikh. We had even a lot of Russians working, and it was like almost like a colony of Russians. We have journalists going to Hurghada, and Sharm el-Sheikh mostly is Russian. So this decision I think is really also really good for the Russian side. Those who had to leave, but we still have some who are still there.
Definitely yes, because we have like a large Russian population, who settled and resides in Hurghada, and there is a consul general in Hurghada, as well as in Sharm el-Sheikh as well. So traffic to the best preferred resorts of Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada and Dab and Weba. We've been there for nearly 40 years. So it's a very preferred location for diving, for aquatic, for beach, for snorkeling, for safari tours. And then they take the day tour, they take coaches, to visit Cairo Museum, and they go to Saqqara, and you go to the Great Pyramids of Giza, to the New Fustat Museum of Civilization, and then they resume their beach and leisure activities again on the Red Sea. So this is very beneficial for Egyptian tourism and for our, preferred and dear guests as well.
Dr. Yahya Abdel Qadir, thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
And we do have, with us our guest for tonight, Mr. Hani Abou-El-Fatouh, who is financial expert, economic and financial experts. And as we talked, welcome, sir, with us. It's always a pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
Well, I just give an introduction for what's important is what we are celebrating this week, the 8th anniversary of the 30th of June Revolution, and we're going to delve into this and all the aspects concerning that. But first, we're going for a short break. After which we'll be back again. Stay tuned to us. Don't go away. We're coming back in a moment. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received Brendan Bechtel, CEO of the American company Bechtel, in the presence of Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, Engineer Tariq Al-Mullah, Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources, and Abbas Kamel, Head of the General Intelligence. During the meeting, the overall activity of the international company Bechtel in Egypt was reviewed, where the President was briefed on the details of the national project to be established in partnership between the petroleum sector and Bechtel to establish a petrochemical complex in the economic zone in the Suez Canal axis, which is the largest of its kind in the region, with an investment value of about $7.5 billion. Engineer Kamel Al-Wazir, Minister of Transport, inaugurated the production line of monorail lines in the new administrative capital and 6th of October in Derby, Britain, in preparation for the start of delivering the 2 lines trans to Egypt. The Egyptian Ministry of Transport toured the company's factory, inspecting the production lines of monorail trains as well as development and research centers related to the design and manufacturing process. In his speech during the opening activities, the Ministry of Transport stressed that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi directed maximizing the capabilities and system of mass transportation in all of Egypt and in Cairo in particular by using modern, advanced and environmentally friendly means of transportation. Last Wednesday, the Egyptian authorities released the giant container ship Ever Given, which had been held by them since the end of March. This comes after Cairo and the ship's owner reached an agreement to provide compensation to Egypt for the losses and damages that occurred as a result of Ever Given closing the strategic Suez Canal for about 3 months. Navigation has been disrupted in the Suez Canal in both directions for 6 days, starting from March 23rd, when the 400-meter-long Ever Given, 59-meter wide, and its total tonnage of 224,000 tons ran aground during a sandstorm and stopped in the width of the canal. It's reported that at the end of March, images of the ship blocking the critical sea lane for 6 days stopped the media around the world and social media pages. The Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities in Egypt is preparing to hold a large and huge procession in the historic city of Luxor, rich with hundreds of tombs and dozens of temples built by the ancient Egyptians. Egypt will carry out the procession to open the Road of Rams, which comments and connects the 2 ancient temples of Karnak and includes hundreds of statues of rams that extend on both sides of the road with a length of 2,700 meters. In the same context, Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli and a group of ministers inspected the works of the restoration project of Al-Kabash Road in Luxor, as well as the ongoing works in Karnak and Luxor temples in preparation for the opening ceremony. The Prime Minister began his tour of the Rams Road and Karnak Temple by reiterating the continuation of the efforts of all concerned agencies in restoring and reviving archaeological and historical sites and areas in order to preserve Egypt's treasures and antiquities. Alessandro Politi, CEO of Natural Resources Activities of the Italian company Eni, said that the signing of the cooperation protocol with the Ministries of Petroleum and Electricity is part of the path that Eni has taken to reduce emissions by 2050. Minister of Petroleum and Mineral Resources Engineer Tariq Al-Mulla and Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy Dr. Mohammed Shakir witnessed the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Egyptian Natural Gas Holding Company, the Egyptian Electricity Holding Company and the Italian Eni Company to cooperate on the production of green and blue hydrogen and to assess the technical and commercial feasibility of its targeted production projects in Egypt. He pointed out that Eni has great experience in Egypt and that it feels societal responsibilities towards achieving those goals, and that it believes in the importance of preparing for a diversified energy mix that relies more on renewable energies, adding that Egypt more move towards hydrogen came at the right time. Welcome back again to Money Means Business with our guest, Mr. Hannibal financial and economic expert. Welcome, sir, again with us.
Hello.
Hello. Well, the highlight, of the week, the 8th anniversary, actually the Monday, the 8th anniversary of the June 30th revolution that is unique in its all aspects. How do you see the status of the Egyptian economy compared to what it was the pre-revolution era?
Well, let me first congratulate all Egyptians on the 8th anniversary of the 30th June revolutions, without which Egypt will not have been as we see today.
Yeah,
Egypt
and also
is
starting
great.
with the tourism, for example, the good news of
Exactly.
tourism that we just mentioned.
Yeah, in order to appreciate where do we stand today, we need to talk about what was the situation before the revolution. As everybody knows that Egypt was going in the wrong way, under the wrong regime.
Yeah.
Those who were in charge at that time, the Muslim Brotherhood and their alliances, took Egypt to a very dark venue, and thank goodness that Egypt was revived again with the revolution. Everybody understands that we were in a very drastic situation before the revolution, and if we talk about the economy at that time, the situation at that time, we need to refer to figures, and I prepared a little homework in order to make life easy for everyone to understand and compare and understand what was the situation and where do we stand now. For example, if we talk about the growth of the economy, before the revolution, Egypt achieved very low rate of growth, approximately below 2%, which is actually a very low growth rate, and if we compare it to the growth rate of the population, 2% means that the Egyptian people, if continued to maintain this low rate, we would have lived the poverty and even below the poverty line. So the GDP now, with the growth rate accelerated to 5.6% in the fiscal year 1920, before the crisis, and even in the fourth quarter of the fiscal year 2021, the growth rate reached 2.9%, which compared to the situation, the global economic crisis, Egypt is, I think, is doing very good in this respect. Also, the poor infrastructure and development projects were not properly handled, and everybody remembers the drastic situation of the shortage of fuel, the disconnect, the electricity,
The repetitive outages.
Yes, the outage,
definitely.
the electricity
Yes.
outage, frequent outage of the electricity.
Yeah.
These were nightmare to all Egyptians at that time. Also, another aspect is the budget deficit, which was at 12% in the fiscal year 13 and 14, and now it stands at 7.8% in the year 2021. The primary budget deficit also, thank goodness, is now we have a primary budget surplus, 1.1%. And in order to avoid jargon, I would like to explain what is
As opposed to the shortage, actually, that we had.
The budget surplus means when the current spending of the government is less than the revenue, excluding the tax. It is said that the government has a primary budget surplus. So we have now 1.1% primary budget surplus, as opposed or compared to 3.5% in the fiscal year 14-15. Also, the unemployment rate now stands at 7.2%. If we compare it to the fiscal year 14 and 15, it reached nearly 13.3%. So despite also 7.2%, I mean, despite the global economic crisis, it's still slightly high, but in comparison to other economies, I think this is a fair representation of the good results and achievements that the government is achieving.
Yeah.
If you remember the inflation rate in the year 2017, it reached nearly 22%, and that's was a bit high at before or at the beginning of achieving or implementing the economic reform program, and with the shock, the economic shock after the the floating of the pound, the inflation rate reached nearly 34%. Now, if we are comparing where we were in year 2016 and 17 and before, and now the inflation rate stands at 4.8% in June this year. Also, we need to compare the expenditure on the public services like the health and education. Now it was 115 billion pounds in year 2014, and currently it stands at 663 billion pounds in the fiscal year 21-22. We must not forget that the economic reform programs, without which Egypt wouldn't have been in this good situation, the government had to spend a lot on subsidies.
Yeah.
Not cutting the subsidies as
Totally,
wrongly
exactly.
expressed, but rationalizing the subsidies. The subsidies allocations were 198 billion pounds in the fiscal year 14 and 15, and currently stands at 321 billion pounds in the fiscal year 21-22. Lastly, the foreign exchange reserves in year 2013 were in a very bad situation, very bad level, nearly 13 billion pounds. And now, despite everything, despite the pandemic, the coronavirus pandemic, the implications on or the pressure on the foreign exchange, now the foreign exchange reserves is maintained at 40 billion pounds, which has been increasing for the 11th month in a row. So, if we compare all these figures before this revolution and immediately after the revolution and the situation now, the comparison is clear that we have achieved a lot.
Yeah.
We have achieved many. We have achieved many good results. And one important note I would like to make here, that the revolution, when it took place in the year 2013, the economic reforms and the results did not take place right away.
Definitely.
But the first of all priorities had to be rearranged, because
Yes.
the first priority at that time was to maintain the political stability and the security stability, because without these two major pillars, no reforms would have been possible. It took us maybe 2 to 3 years in order to maintain the political and security stability.
Definitely, definitely. There was hard work, and still, hard work is being done. Actually, when we were discussing that, when this happened, we were thinking, should we just, go about the projects, like one by one, or every sector one by one? But there is no time for that. So, we're doing it all at a time, at the same time, simultaneously, like a revolution in everything, in every aspect of life, in order to reach not only what we were at before, but then to surpass it and realize the aspirations of Egyptians, the place we should be really in, instead of the place we were forced to be, like going back in everything, that was really very painful. Also, you wanted to mention tourism coming back, the Russian flights coming back to Egypt, and overturning a decision that, for those charter flights coming back, and, like, as I said, some, Hurghada, especially in Sharm el-Sheikh, are very important place for the Russians, like Conlizio here and there, we find a lot of Russians. Also, going to the new cities, and of course, the North Coast and the new cities there, but, to the old places that they're used to and they love.
I'd like just to recall the revenues from the tourism just before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Egypt achieved around 11 or 12 billion dollars, which were the same levels of revenues in year 2010 and 11.
Yeah.
And of course, with the drastic impact of the coronavirus, all that has gone. But the good news, as you just said, the good news is the resumption of flights, the charter flights between Russia and the destinations of the Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada, where official estimates tell us that, or inform that it is the Russian tourism represent around 30% of all tourism movement in these areas, which is a lot. So with this good news, I think the future is more brighter. Until the end of this year. We will witness, inshallah, good results or good revenues from tourism sector.
Definitely. Well, we'll go for a short break, after which we'll be back. We'll resume again our talk, what we were, what happened to us in 2012 and 2013, and where we are right now, the different aspects of life. Stay tuned to us, don't go away. And we're back again to Money Means Business with our guest, Mr. Hani Abou Al-Futuh. Well, the 30th of July, the 30th of June, actually, that was the 3rd of July, fighting terrorism. But 30th of June was, a very important stop for everything, and just a change in everything in Egypt, from hitting rock bottom to just a quantum leap, actually, starting that date. Everybody was in the street in Egypt calling for a revolution, calling for the stop of the, the kicking out of the Muslim Brotherhood and their own rule. And for that, was a very important landmark. President Sisi himself said it's unique. This revolution is a unique example of popular revolutions in history. That is a unique one in history. How do you see the 30th June? How is it successful? How is it unique?
Well, I think it is unique in many ways, because if you recall the pictures and the sentiments of people who were in the streets.
Yeah.
Okay.
I recall as if
they
now,
were not youth, because generally speaking, revolutions
Yeah.
rely on young people
Yeah.
going in groups, shouting, raising slogans. But what happened in this revolution, which makes it the Egyptian people's revolution, is that it was made by everybody.
Yeah.
Even by what is called the couch party.
Yeah, we are the couch party. We were watching youth, doing that.
Mom and dad
Exactly.
and aunt and elderly people. We were all in the streets.
Yeah.
In the streets, screaming loudly that and asking the military to take the lead
Yes.
and kick the Muslim Brotherhood who pushed us into a dark venue.
Yeah.
So it's unique because it's everybody's revolution, not the youth, not the young people. It's elderly people. Everyone was were with many people of different groups, different backgrounds, different ages, were in the streets.
Having a say in the future of the country. We
Yes.
wanted to stay in part, of our country. Just
That
going
was
there.
not. We lived dark ages.
Yeah.
They wanted to drag Egypt to dark ages, to a regime where power, they will hold power for at least 50 years ahead. No democracy, no expression of thoughts, no liberation, nothing at all, but only suppression and one-way regime, one-way thinking. So
Exactly.
it's unique because everyone was very enthusiastic about regaining Egypt again, getting the civilized Egypt
Yeah.
back into the venue the same way it was for many, many years back.
Yes. Also, when you had CNN writing and getting the picture, 30 million Egyptians in the streets, all at once in all governorates in order to regain the countries back. Those who are really keen on going down, as much of the streets could take, with all the people in the streets trying to get back their country and not relinquish it to the Muslim Brotherhood that, as you said, taking us to the dark ages and making the country hit rock bottom at that time and refusing any going forward. We were going backwards. So that stopped with this, 30th of June. The people had their say, and that's the end of it. We started from there, that time.
People said enough is enough.
Yeah.
Okay, you cannot take us back to the old ages.
With the constitution also, we refused that.
You cannot fake the Egyptian streets' will.
Yeah.
That was expressed very clearly and loudly to the outer world.
Yeah. Also, the president also noted that he is racing against time. He said it so many times, going very fast on everything. There is no time. We have to just go ahead and realize the quantum need in order to achieve the long-awaited aspirations of the Egyptian people. What's your take on that? How do you see this statement? And what's, all the work done and is being done with that saying as a proof?
Egypt has its 2030 vision.
Yeah.
And it plans ahead for many years to fulfill the aspiration of the Egyptian people. Since the President Sisi took office, in the first presidency and the second term, and his second term will end in year 2022.
Yeah.
There are many things yet to be done.
Definitely.
If we look at the number of projects in hand which are being developed, more than, I can't remember the exact number, but more than 18,000 national projects. More, I think more than this number. They are being
And
executed, and initiatives.
Yeah.
They need more. They need more time until the final implementation. That's why the president said, he is racing time, because all these projects must be completed, because they fulfill the aspiration of the
And they
Egyptian
need a lot
people.
of money,
And the
actually.
Egyptian people,
Yeah.
they needed this, or they deserve
Yeah.
all these achievements for the long-awaited projects, the long-awaited initiatives yet to be completed. That's why the president is racing time.
And you know, the needed, you know, when you find those people sitting on cafe, in a cafe, or you know, like sitting in the air conditioning and playing with the computers and saying, well, this is not done right, we should be doing this, we should be doing that. And you know, like when you look at this and, oh, well, we need food. And there is, you know, a lot of work on that. We did not even feel during the COVID-19 and, you know, all the very hard times, we did not feel the lack of anything. Education and making fun of, you know, online education, which proved to be very important in this situation.
That happens with education, particularly.
Yeah.
It happened coincidentally today when on the social media people are attacking the minister because of the Thanawi, the high school exams were difficult. In fact, the exams were not difficult, but
And the health minister,
possibly
you know, like
the students did not have time to study, but they were allocating much time to social media.
Yeah.
To surfing the net, and I'm shocked. I'm furious about the shouts, the slogans, those who think that they can run
the country
better
Yeah.
than the current the present officials. Okay, it's not that easy, and I mean, had it been easy, it would have been easier for the other governments to do it. But
Definitely.
now we are fighting. The government is fighting, and this is not for the current government. I mean, even for the future governments. The challenges are many, and it's not
Imagine
easy.
you have 100 million people in the country. As a friend stated it, if you are a parent and you have one child, it's very hard. When you have, you know, like, you know, a president, you have, you know, to cater to 100 million.
They need education, they need health care, they need universities, they need public services, infrastructure. It's not that easy, and that's why, again, back again to the statement of Abdel Fattah, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he is racing time to achieve the long-awaited projects, and the outcome should be very evident to everybody. And
Yeah.
I hope that everybody should be happy by that,
Well, no,
but
sorry,
not
some
planning,
keep talking about
not planning the government on
Yeah.
Everything on the cafe.
Definitely planning everything on a cafe or you know, on Facebook, and thinking, you know, that he's giving
Behind
great.
the keyboard.
Yeah, you know, this is, you know, like the most important thing, you know, not being in real life. Well, you know, also talking about initiatives, we have, you know, 100 million health, 100 million صحة, and then also we have, you know, the very important one, Haya Karima, you know, decent life initiative for everybody, especially the places that were marginalized, you know, like Upper Egypt, you know, like the countryside and all that, that now are becoming the focus of the government, really working hard on these to just give them the decent life that they deserve, and you know, correct everything that was kind of neglected before. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi called on also civil society organizations to take part in the initiative for the countryside, Focus Decent Life, Haya Karima initiative, to work on the development of the initiative's first 1,500 villages, which is not, like a small number. It's a lot, that started on January 2021 with a budget of 200 billion Egyptian pounds and due to be completed by the end of the fiscal year 2021-2022, which is a lot of work actually done. How do you see that, especially that with the countryside, that the focused initiative of Decent Life and the countryside needs a lot of work, in all aspects of life in order to be at, the standard that everybody wishes and the president wishes to see?
Well, I believe that the Decent Life initiative is one of the most important national projects because it touches more than 58% of the Egyptian citizens. It's, as you said, it started in 2019, and it will the first phase of the initiative focuses on 1,500 villages, and it is estimated that it
We have
will
1 minute left, so let's.
it is estimated that it will cover 4,500 villages, and the allocations, the financial allocations for this initiative has increased recently to 700 billion pounds. Because it will not only focus on improving the public services in the rural areas, but also will focus on training and creating jobs for women and young people in villages and improve their lives.
Yeah, we ran out of time, but one question that is the last question. The inauguration of the military base near the Libyan border, what message does it give to the world?
The opening of the naval base sends a very strong message that Egypt is strong. Egypt is building, on one hand, Egypt is building its economy, its future, and on the other hand, Egypt is protecting its economic interests and borders, and protecting, the army is protecting Egypt from all threats. So we are not only busy with building the future, we are also busy with protecting ourselves and the economic interests.
Mr. Hani Bouffrouh, long live Egypt. Tahia Masr.
Thank you.
And always a pleasure having you. We'll see you again, as we move along, and with the development day by day, actually, and week on week, we'll just, be on, with, you and, finding out what happened and giving it to the people. Thank you for being there. And I'd always say, Tahia Masr, long live Egypt, God bless Egypt, God bless Egyptians, God bless our president, God bless our army, our white army, our police. And as we quote from the Holy Quran, ادخلوا مصر إن شاء الله آمنين, enter Egypt, God willing, safe. And from the Holy Bible, Mubarak شعب مصر, blessed be my people, Egypt. I'm Nermeen Azim signing off. God bless the world. Goodbye for now. See you again next week.